Welcome back into the A Gap. I am your host, as you know. I am Adam Fernandez, the voice of the voiceless, the hero that you need but definitely don't deserve, the pharaoh of the San Antonio sports podcasting world. I am Adam Fernandez. I wanted to get into this for my final thought of the day. The targeting rule. Just physical rules in nature, but the targeting rule in football, there needs to be some massive reevaluating of this rule. We've seen a bunch of times where they're saying by letter of the rule, this is targeting. No intent by the player at all to cause any harm to anybody, but the player is getting ejected. I think we've come to learn to live with that. We don't like it, but we've come to learn to live with that. But case in point of what's going on now, Grant Stevens of the Washington State Cougars last night was flagged for targeting, kicked out of the game. He missed the second half of last night. He's going to end up missing the first half of this next game they have coming up for one of the most egregious targeting fouls I've ever seen. This was in no way targeting. This was a good, clean hit. Was it a hard hit? Absolutely it was. Will this USC defender need to find his block after it had been knocked off? Absolutely he will. Is this targeting? Absolutely not. This is a good, clean hit by an offensive lineman who, according to the targeting rule, the rule is set to protect players. He was protecting his quarterback. He was protecting his quarterback from a man who was hell-bent on doing him harm. That's what blocking is. That's the basis of the sport of football. To block for the ball carrier. In this case, the quarterback. You need to block for him so that he can make a play. If we disallow blocking, what sport do we have at this point? Are we going to start wearing flags on our waists? Playing flag football? Let me tell you what, there is a World Cup of flag football that probably no one's ever heard about. The ratings for that thing are horrible because, again, nobody's heard about it. Nobody cares to watch flag football. But that's kind of the football that they're trying to push on our throats now. We want guys like Grant Stevens to miss the equivalent of a game because he laid a guy out in a clean hit. I've heard the argument that it could have been construed a blindside block. I don't see how. They looked like they were squared up before contact. I definitely don't believe this was targeting. You see his forearm go into the shoulder pads of the USC defender, and then, yes, his arm does rise up as the defender's chin goes down. So he might have made contact with his chin there. That wasn't Stevens' fault. That's not targeting. He does not hit him with his helmet. He hits him shoulder pad to shoulder pad, forearm to shoulder pad. That's what he does. And now this kid is suspended for the first half of next game. Tell me how this makes any sense at all. Again, the idea of the targeting rule is to protect players from mainly head injuries right now. After what happened to Tua Tagovailoa, I think we can all agree that, yes, we need to protect players from head injuries. This was not a head injury. This was a clean block. This is not at all what we're protecting players against. In fact, it's quite the opposite because, again, like I just said, he was protecting his quarterback. So, how are you going to sit here and tell me that this kid needs to be suspended when he just put out a great hit on this guy? That's all it was, a great hit. So the rules need to be reevaluated. The punishments for dishing out targeting should be reevaluated. The punishments for flagging targeting when it is not there needs to be reevaluated. These refs, this kid is going to be suspended for the equivalent of an entire game. Suspended the second half of last game. Suspended for the first half of next game. These refs need to be suspended without pay for an entire week, for an entire game. That's the only fair thing I see. Because they're causing him to miss a game when it clearly was not targeting. Guys, that's all I have for you this time. That was my final thought of the day. I will see you next week. I love you, and as always, besos.